So the way that I made this sound was actually probably simpler than you would imagine. Basically, what I did was I'll talk about the notes in a second, but this is actually just Ableton's grand piano. If you listen without any effects. So I just took Ableton's grand piano and I played this sort of droning quarter note pattern where it's just doing a B minor chord, B minor dyad, meaning a chord with two notes. And yeah, I was just playing that over and over. And the reason why I had this actually is because originally when I wrote this chord progression, I played it in on a piano, and I was playing this with my right hand, and then I played the progression with my left hand. So then when I went to make it like an electronic song, quote unquote, I figured I would just put this on a separate track. So that's what that's doing. And yeah, so for the effects on here, basically, first one I have is this chorus. It's just kind of washing it out a bit, you can hear. Like, yeah, it just takes it from a piano to something a little bit deeper and more synthetic sounding. And then after that, I have this echo. So, same thing. It's really just kind of obscuring everything. I have it on 16th notes, and I have the feedback and dry wet up there. So, it's pretty powerful. But again, it just helps to obscure it and kind of make it sound more delicate. So then after that, I have this reverb on here, which sounds like this. And that's what really seals the deal as far as like what I was saying, like making it a really obscured and delicate kind of piano sound. I have a pretty high decay time and pretty high dry wet on this one, so that's what's causing that. And yeah, pretty simple. So then after that, I have this utility, and the purpose of this is just to turn it up, actually. It was really, really quiet, and you can see I have this track volume set to like 0.2, so it was already at 0, and it was really quiet, so I used the utility to just turn it up with the gain. Pretty simple there. And then I just have this EQ8 cutting out the low end, and then this auto pan, which is doing a fake kind of sidechain. I have it on the saw wave, and then we have it inverted, and it's on quarter notes, so that's what's making it kind of go up and give it like that sidechain kind of sound. So yeah, this just kind of sits over top of everything and helps to add, I like to think of it as like melodic texture. Like it's kind of like ear candy. If we play this track without it, it still works, but it's not as cool as if we add it. I feel like it's really adding a lot to this track. So the next layer we have here is this respace, which sounds like this. So this is a bit more of a simple layer. All it is this bass sound that I made with Operator. It's just playing the root notes of the chords. I'm just holding them out, obviously. And then yeah, so the way that I made the sound was with Operator. I have this FM algorithm, so there's no FM going on. It's just playing them, the oscillators side by side. And then on the first one, I have a saw wave, and then on the second one, I also have a saw wave. And then the fine tune on that is up a bit, so they're detuned. And then I have that going to this low pass filter. So here's before the filter, and then with the filter. That just cuts out all the highs and leaves the really nice warm low end. So then after that, I just have this auto pan, same kind of thing as the rhythmic drone. It's just doing the little fake side chain. So this is a pretty simple bass. I definitely heard this in a lot of their tracks that I was listening to sort of reference for this. I think this is the bass sound they go for most of the time, and it makes sense. It works really well with this style of music. It's really like warm and nice, and it just fits the vibe. So then after that, I have this vinyl noise, pretty straightforward. It sounds like this. And then one thing to note on this one is I did cut out all the low end, so if you listen to it without this EQ8, you can hear there's a whole bunch of low end in there that I wanted to get rid of, so yeah, just cut it out. I'm pretty straightforward there. So the next thing I'm going to show you is this guitar, which sounds like this. So basically, the way that I made this was I had this chord progression and I wanted to play it with a guitar, so I figured I would just record my own guitar. So that was what I did. And then the way that I made this was I recorded each sort of part of the chord separately. So we have one track where I play just the root notes, one where I play just the thirds, and then one where I play just the fifths. So yeah, so what this kind of allows you to do is you get a little bit more control over things. It gives you just more ability to kind of play around with the chords, and also it actually gave me more ability to do this. So if you look at this little reverse thing up here, you can hear it. And you can hear that's actually just the root notes. So that's one benefit of this. I was able to make that where if I had done that with like the full chords, it might have sounded a little bit weird. So that was kind of one of the benefits of just recording these separately. I mean, another thing is, it's just easier to play with. Like on this one, for example, I actually pitched this down an octave, the root notes. And just like stuff like that, it gives you more ability to manipulate the sound. So then on the group here, what I have is actually quite a bit of effects. Basically, the first one I have here is this amp. So it's just on the clean setting. Pretty straightforward. I didn't really change anything. It kind of sounded good as it was. And then I have that going into the Ableton cabinet. I have the speaker set to 2x12. The microphone is near on axis, and it's set to a condenser. So this was just kind of like trying to set this up like an amp. I was trying to think of this as if I was just playing a regular guitar into an amp. So then after that, I have this chorus. So that's kind of what's giving it that like really chorusy sound. If I play it without this, it's still cool, but when we turn it on, it really gives it that like distinct kind of watery character. So after that, I have two echoes. The first one is doing eighth notes, and you can see it's not quite as prominent. The dry, wet, and feedback are set pretty low. And the second one is doing quarter notes, and this is really that main one that you hear. That just keeps going and going. And this one is set to quarter notes, like I said. I have the feedback and dry, wet set like that. So this is just, the really prevailing one. And the cool thing about this is you can hear, if I play it with the metronome, since some of these notes are hitting on the upbeats, like these ones and these ones, what happens with the quarter note delay is that the rhythm kind of changes because it goes from just being quarter notes that are straight on the beat to quarter notes that are on the upbeat. And that gives us a cool rhythm. So if I play with the metronome, you can kind of hear that. So yeah, like when that upbeat there hits and it goes down, 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 like that is kind of what I'm talking about. It gives us a really cool effect. And then the eighth note echo is really just for space. Like I still wanted that. You can hear it goes like down, no, 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 no on that first hit. That was kind of what I was going for. So then after that, I have this reverb, pretty subtle actually. Just giving it a little bit more space. I didn't want it to be just echo. And then I have an EQ8 cutting out the low end. A utility boosting the volume a little bit because I had a similar problem with this one as I had with that piano. And then I just have an auto pan doing the sort of fake sidechain effect. And then on the reverse, I actually don't have any effects other than just that. So yeah, pretty simple with that one. So then the next layer that we have going on here is this piano, which sounds like this. So this is actually very, very similar to the piano up top. Basically what I did was I took Ableton's grand piano, and this is just playing the chord progression. If you listen to it without any effects, you can kind of hear that. So yeah, I just took the chord progression. You can see I put the thirds up an octave, which is something I do pretty often if you're familiar with my videos. But in this case, I just did it to sort of spread the chord out. It gives it more depth, and it makes it easier to kind of hear the space between the voices. And yeah, so I just have this playing the chords, and then what I have the velocity also. I guess I could have just turned down the velocity in the clip, but I wanted to play around with this, so yeah, I just use the effect for that. So then after the grand piano, what I have is, first off, I have this chorus, pretty similar to the one up top. It just kind of like makes it more watery and washed out. After that, I have an echo, and again, same thing as the other piano, just kind of like gives it some space. So after that, I have this reverb, which helps to give it some more space and really sort of tie everything together. And then I have this EQ8 cutting out the low end. And then I have an auto pan doing the kind of side chaining effect. So this just kind of beefs up the guitar chords a little bit. I feel like it kind of sounds like an extension of that almost, and it gives them like an extra little bit of flavor that they wouldn't have had. So then after that, I have this operator, which sounds like this. This is doing the arpeggio that you hear throughout the track. So to make this one, I basically just had this cool arpeggio that fit really well over these chords. And this is a similar thing to the piano drone, the rhythmic one, where it's just kind of like meant to be ear candy. Like it just adds something extra over the final sound. Then yeah, just gives it some extra flavor. So the way that I made this was basically I just kind of had this arp, like I said, that sounded good with the piano. And I just kind of wrote that honestly with my ears. Like I was just listening to what I thought sounded cool. It's pretty simple to do that. But yeah, so then for the sound, what I have is I used a square wave, an operator, and then that's going into this low pass filter with a bit of an envelope on it. So that's what's making it kind of plucky. If I turn off the envelope, it doesn't really work as well. So yeah, and then after that I just have a little bit of reverb, not too much. I have a low, dry, wet, and a pretty long decay time, I guess. But that's giving it the space that you hear. And then that's going into this auto pan, which is just doing a fake sidechain kind of effect. Now one thing I will note about this is I do have it track delayed a little bit. I have the track delay on, putting it 10 milliseconds forward. If you don't know what track delay is, I'll briefly explain. It's basically just this little D icon down here. You click that, and it brings up this little thing. And then what you can do is when you move that forward, it basically moves the contents of your track over to the right. So it's the same as if I want like this, however many milliseconds. The only difference is that it's a little bit easier to just move this slider than to like move the full contents of your track over. So yeah, so I just have that on there. It makes it sit over the groove nicely, and I feel like it gives it a more organic feel because everything isn't just perfectly on the beat. Like adding this little bit of, you know, just some extra kind of like fluctuation, I guess, in the groove makes it nice. So yeah, so then the next thing I will show you are the drums, which all together sound like this. So I'll start off first with the kick. The kick is pretty simple. It's just this nice punchy kind of like drum machine kick. Here's the original sample. And then all I did was I pitched it down one semitone and I low passed it because that little click at the start was a little bit too powerful. Like something I noticed with Kiasmos music is that they tend to have kind of softer, more round kicks. So that was the goal with this one. And yeah, really not too much to say there. It's just about finding a good kick that works with the bass. And has that right kind of like soft, more delicate vibe while still punching through the whole mix. So the next thing I will show you is the percussion, which sounds like this all together. And so what this is made up of is first off the shaker, which sounds like this. So it's just this little shaker sample. And I have that playing this kind of pattern in the MIDI, so you can see it's like 16 notes, but then the 3 that aren't on the upbeat are way lower, so that's just what gives it that kind of groove. And I believe, yeah, I pitched that one down -4 as well. So the next layer of percussion is this thing, which sounds like this. It's really subtle. It's just this quiet kind of like little tom thing. Basically, I made that using this sound. And I just put it into a bandpass filter, so that's what's kind of like getting rid of that high end and focusing on that one range. And then I just have a utility on there, converting it to mono because this had some weird stereo stuff, and I wanted to just make it simpler. And then I have an echo on there as well, which is doing 30-second notes, and you can see the dry wet is pretty low. This is very subtle. I actually have a very similar one on the shaker, which you can see on this one. I just have it. I don't have it synced. I just have it set to sort of free time. And yeah, the idea behind putting the echo on both of those is just to give them some space and make them not just so like rigid and simple. So then after that, I have this open hi-hat, which you can hear is playing on the upbeats, and that's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just this nice kind of hi-hat sound. And then I put that through an echo as well, which just gives it some space. With this, since it's just playing that one note, actually, it's kind of, the echo sounds really good because it really gets the ring out. as opposed to just adding texture. So then the last thing that I have on here is this little percussion sound, which I'm going to play with the other stuff so you can kind of hear what it's doing. So it's just this little thing. And that's just playing this pattern that's like bouncing off of the other percussion. And yeah, I just wanted to add something other than just hi-hats, because in Kiasmos music, something I really appreciate about it actually is they do use a lot of like cool percussion. So that was the goal of this, like just to add an extra percussive layer. It's just this cool sound, which I believe I pitched. Yeah, I pitched down -2, and then I put it through some echo. And then, like I said, it's just playing this pattern that sort of accentuates the groove. I actually also have another pattern over here, which will be, of course, included with the whole project file that you can get in the description. And this is just playing a little bit of a different pattern. I'll actually play that with the snare. So, just a little bit of a different kind of thing that you can try out if you get this project file. But yeah, so then the last little percussion thing I will show you is the clap/snare, which sounds like this. And so this is 3 layers. It's the snare, this clap thing, and then this clap. So these all kind of serve their own purpose. The point of the snare is just to really be like the impact and like the hit and the meat of the sound. And then this clap adds like some punch and kind of like crackiness. And then this last clap just kind of sits over top of everything. And this is more of like a hand clap style layer. And one thing you can see with this one also is I moved it back -10 with the track delay. So that was just so that you can hear it kind of starts before the other ones. That was just to bring that out. If we don't have it on, you can hear it just hits at the same time and it doesn't, stand out as much. So that's really it for this video. Like I said, you can get the project file and samples from this video in the description. And make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. Check out my social media, which is on the screen. And yeah, thank you again, everybody. And I will see you tomorrow with another tutorial.